Episode 179. Professor Snape discovered, Dumbledore resumed, that you had been dreaming about the door to the Department of Mysteries for months. Voldemort, of course, had been obsessed with the possibility of hearing the prophecy ever since he regained his body, and as he dwelled on the door, so did you, though you did not know what it meant. And then you saw Rookwood, who worked in the Department of Mysteries before his arrest, telling Voldemort what we had known all along, that the prophecies held in the Ministry of Magic are heavily protected. Only the people to whom they refer can lift them from the shelves without suffering madness. In this case, either Voldemort himself would have to enter the Ministry of Magic and risk revealing himself at last, or else you would have to take it for him. It became a matter of even greater urgency that you should master occlumency. "But I didn't," muttered Harry. He said it aloud to try and ease the dead weight of guilt inside him. A confession must surely relieve some of the terrible pressure squeezing his heart. "I didn't practice. I didn't bother. I could have stopped myself having those dreams. Hermione kept telling me to do it. If I had, he'd never have been able to show me where to go, and Sirius wouldn't. Something was erupting inside Harry's head, a need to justify himself, to explain. "I tried to check he'd really taken Sirius. I went to Umbridge's office. I spoke to Kreacher in the fire, and he said Sirius wasn't there. He said he'd gone." "Kreacher lied," said Dumbledore calmly. "You are not his master. He could lie to you without even needing to punish himself. Kreacher intended you to go to the Ministry of Magic." He sent me on purpose?" "Oh, yes. Kreacher, I am afraid, has been serving more than one master for months." "How?" said Harry blankly. "He hasn't been out of Grimmauld Place for years." "Kreacher seized his opportunity shortly before Christmas," said Dumbledore, "when Sirius apparently shouted at him to get out. He took Sirius at his word and interpreted this as an order to leave the house. He went to the only Black family member for whom he had any respect left, Black's cousin Narcissa, sister of Bellatrix and wife of Lucius Malfoy." "How do you know all this?" Harry said. His heart was beating very fast. He felt sick. He remembered worrying about Kreacher's odd absence over Christmas, remembering him turning up again in the attic. "Kreacher told me last night," said Dumbledore. "You see, when you gave Professor Snape that cryptic warning, he realized that you had had a vision of Sirius trapped in the bowels of the Department of Mysteries. He, like you, attempted to contact Sirius at once. I should explain that members of the Order of the Phoenix have more reliable methods of communicating than the fire in Dolores Umbridge's office. Professor Snape found that Sirius was alive and safe in Grimmauld Place. When, however, you did not return from your trip into the forest with Dolores Umbridge, Professor Snape grew worried that you still believed Sirius to be a captive of Lord Voldemort's. He alerted certain Order members at once." Dumbledore gave a great sigh and then said, "Alistair Moody, Nymphadora Tonks, Kingsley Shacklebolt, and Remus Lupin were at headquarters when he made contact. All agreed to go to your aid at once. Professor Snape requested that Sirius remain behind, as he needed somebody to remain at headquarters to tell me what had happened, for I was due there at any moment. In the meantime, he, Professor Snape, intended to search the forest for you. But Sirius did not wish to remain behind while the others went to search for you. He delegated to Kreacher the task of telling me what had happened. And so it was that when I arrived in Grimmauld Place, shortly after they had all left for the ministry, it was the elf who told me, laughing fit to burst, where Sirius had gone. "He was laughing?" said Harry in a hollow voice. "Oh, yes," said Dumbledore. "You see, Kreacher was not able to betray us totally. He is not secret keeper for the Order. He could not give the Malfoys our whereabouts or tell them any of the Order's confidential plans that he had been forbidden to reveal. He was bound by the enchantments of his kind, which is to say that he could not disobey a direct order from his master, Sirius. But he gave Narcissa information of the sort that is very valuable to Voldemort. It must have seemed much too trivial for Sirius to think of banning him from repeating it." "Like what?" said Harry. "Like the fact that the person Sirius cared most about in the world was you," said Dumbledore quietly. "Like the fact that you were coming to regard Sirius as a mixture of father and brother. Voldemort knew already, of course, that Sirius was in the Order, that you knew where he was, but Kreacher's information made him realize that the one person whom you would go to any lengths to rescue was Sirius Black." Harry's lips were cold and numb. "So, when I asked Kreacher if Sirius was there last night?" "The Malfoys, undoubtedly on Voldemort's instructions, had told him he must find a way of keeping Sirius out of the way once you had seen the vision of Sirius being tortured. Then, if you decided to check whether Sirius was at home or not, Kreacher would be able to pretend he was not. Kreacher injured Buckbeak the Hippogriff yesterday, and at the moment when you made your appearance in the fire, Sirius was upstairs trying to tend to him." There seemed to be very little air in Harry's lungs. His breathing was quick and shallow. "And Kreacher told you all this, and laughed?" he croaked. "He did not wish to tell me," said Dumbledore. "But I am a sufficiently accomplished legilimens myself to know when I am being lied to, and I persuaded him to tell me the full story before I left for the Department of Mysteries." "And," whispered Harry, his hands curled into cold fists on his knees, "and Hermione kept telling us to be nice to him." "She was quite right, Harry," said Dumbledore. "I warned Sirius when we adopted 12 Grimmauld Place as our headquarters that Kreacher must be treated with kindness and respect. I also told him that Kreacher could be dangerous to us. I do not think that Sirius took me very seriously, or that he ever saw Kreacher as a being with feelings as acute as a human's." Don't you talk about Sirius like that." Harry's breath was constricted. He could not get the words out properly, but the rage that had subsided so briefly had flared in him again. He would not let Dumbledore criticize Sirius. "Kreacher's a lying foul. He deserved—" "Kreacher is what he has been made by wizards, Harry," said Dumbledore. "Yes, he is to be pitied. His existence has been as miserable as your friend Dobby's. He was forced to do Sirius's bidding because Sirius was the last of the family to which he was enslaved. But he felt no true loyalty to him. And whatever Kreacher's faults, it must be admitted that Sirius did nothing to make Kreacher's lot easier." "Don't talk about Sirius like that!" Harry yelled. He was on his feet again, furious, ready to fly at Dumbledore, who had plainly not understood Sirius at all, how brave he was, how much he had suffered. "What about Snape?" Harry spat. "You're not talking about him, are you? When I told him Voldemort had Sirius, he just sneered at me, as usual." "Harry, You know that Professor Snape had no choice but to pretend not to take you seriously in front of Dolores Umbridge, said Dumbledore steadily.